P3 1.2 Long ago, a young man from Massachusetts said farewell to his friends and family. He set out for adventure in a new land. The young man was John Chapman. The new land was to the west. The land lay beyond the cities and towns and farms of the eastern United States. Back in those days, many farms had apple orchards. People ate ripe apples. They cooked with apples. They made apple butter and apple cider. Apple vinegar kept foods from spoiling. Apple trees gave so much to everyone. When John Chapman headed west, he carried a sack of apple seeds. He thought people moving west would need apple trees too. John Chapman hiked mile after mile. He wore no shoes. He liked to feel the earth under his bare feet. He slept under the stars. The howling wolves and hooting owls didn't bother him a bit. One time in mountain country, a sudden snowstorm blew in. The snow came up to John's waist. John cut the low-lying twigs off beech trees. He wove the twigs into a flat shape. He added straps out of bark. Now John had snowshoes. John tore off a strip from the bottom of his blanket coat. He wrapped his bare feet in the cloth. He strapped on his snowshoes and strode on top of the snow to safety. Spring came. The earth warmed. The time was right for John to begin his work. John found a good spot near a river. He chopped down trees to make a clearing. He prepared the soil. He planted apple seeds. Then he made a fence out of brush. The fence would protect the seedlings from deer or other hungry animals. John left his apple nursery behind. He moved on. Many miles away, he found another good spot. There he cleared the land, planted his seeds, and made another nursery for apple trees. Why was John planting apple trees? He knew that people were moving west. Soon settlers would be clearing land for farms and houses. Their lives would not be easy. They would have to endure many hardships. Yet when the newcomers arrived, something familiar and wonderful greeted them. Apple trees! John Chapman's nurseries were a sign of hope. John sold apple seedlings to the newcomers. Sometimes he traded the trees for things he needed. If a family had no money and nothing to trade, John gave the trees away. John traveled hundreds of miles by foot. Back and forth he went, checking on his nurseries. Sometimes he found comrades to travel with. The years went by. Small towns grew. Apple orchards grew too, thanks to John Chapman. People began calling him Johnny Appleseed. The settlers enjoyed Johnny Appleseed's company. The children looked forward to his visits. Johnny was a great storyteller. He told stories about his adventures. Other people began to tell stories about Johnny Appleseed. Sometimes they added a few details to what they had heard before. People said that Johnny dressed in rags. He wore funny-looking hats that he made himself. They said that Johnny was tough and strong. He could walk barefoot on ice. He could chop as much wood in one day as most men could in two. Johnny hated to harm any living thing. Even wild animals knew how gentle Johnny was. One time he found a wolf that had been hurt badly. He helped the wolf get better and then kept it as a pet. People also said that he took honey from bees only when he was sure they had plenty. He didn't want them to suffer during the winter. Gentle, kind-hearted Johnny Appleseed planted thousands of trees. After he died, his apple trees lived on. His stories live on too.